coast to coast, direct from Austin. You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
Defending the Republic from enemies, foreign and domestic. It's Alex Jones.
I like prosperity. I like wealth. I like science. I like technology, but I like family and good old-fashioned kinsmanship more than anything else. There's an old Norse saying that cattle die and kinsmen die. But I know there's one thing that never dies, and that's the fame of a dead man's deeds. And I would always, see that quote when I was a child researching the Norse. I was always fascinated by it, by the Vikings. I thought, that sounds arrogant. That sounds self-centered, but now I understand it's not about that. It's about being an example to others that come after you, to be honorable and to be strong and to die with a sword in your hand. And that doesn't even mean in the modern sense die in combat. It means die taking action, charging forward, and not being a coward, and not giving up, and not giving in. I don't want to advance screwing people. I don't want to be a parasite, a gutter snipe. I want to build society. I want to help Latin America. Hurts my heart we can't let them all in. But they're being used as a weapon to bring down the Republic on record by the globalists that brought their countries down. Paul Watson, it's a short segment, long segment coming up, then John Rappaport joins us. I've been ranting, but the few minutes we've got left in this short segment, this kind of no man's land here, what do you have to say about what makes us men and women? What makes us tick? What's at the center of your compass?
Center of my compass, Alex, is just to be adversarial to the system, to the establishment, because that's what journalists are supposed to be. Now the mainstream media has seized this pejorative term conspiracy theorist, and again we're seeing it with this Ebola outbreak. Ask any questions whatsoever about the official narrative, you're a conspiracy theorist. I actually sent out a tweet earlier today reminding people that it was the CIA in 1967, and this was in their own document, 1035-960, who outlined how the term conspiracy theory would be weaponized and turned into a pejorative term to demonize all dissent. So this was obviously in relation to the Warren Commission. Any questioning of the narrative was to be demonized as a conspiracy theory, and this term was to be weaponized in the arena of public debate. So 50 years later, the establishment is still using this pejorative.
Wow, you should do another story on that whenever you get a chance, how the Clintons in the mid-90s demonized Joseph Farah, Drudge, and others, and said use the term conspiracy theorist, and quoted that. I didn't know. I just learned something, that was a CIA plan.
Exactly, from 1967 in their own document.
Oh my, Paul, you just taught me something as usual. That is sensational against the enemy, to show how the CIA, run by these foreign banks, coined that term to then just demonize anyone that questions lies. Can we come back in the next segment? Can you detail that more for me?
Yeah, sure.
What else is life about, though? Doesn't it feel good to build people up? I can't imagine wanting to not teach people things and wanting to dumb kids down. That makes me want to throw up.
It feels good to be informed because you can make better choices about your life. Ignorance is bliss. Just not true. You cannot live your life like that. You will live a more unhappy life in ignorance because you're not as empowered to make better choices about your life. So when people say, oh, you don't get depressed, don't you get down, don't you get overwhelmed? No, you only get more and more educated and more empowered, more in the game and on the field to have a real impact in the future of humanity.
I'll tell you what I agree. I'll tell you what scares me more and more that I study this stuff more. I talk to the general public, even people that have degrees and good jobs. It's like talking to a child. That they just are these little TV-watching, self-centered people, and they literally are dumb. And I'm in the perspective of the elite now, but I don't want to hurt these dumb people or these lazy people, these ignorant people. But I am frustrated by how stupid they are.
It's hard to reach some of them, but again, you do find that if you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. But a lot of them are just locked in, Alex. I mean, we've got basically a dead-end culture in general where a lot of the music, for example, a lot of the movies are just being regenerated from the past, not borrowed from the past, which all culture does, but just dug up again and, regurgitated. That's happening in a lot of areas, and people are just becoming dead. I mean, that's why we've got all these zombie films that come out. We've got
exactly, and it shows how the elite themselves don't even have a desire to create something new and trailblazing. They just eat each other's vomit over and over again in an endless cycle like two snakes coming together. It's an evil plan. I began to get into iodine a few years ago because it was helping me and my family so much get healthy and detoxify. Most people know that iodine deficiency has been a crisis around the world. Iodine is key to so many of the body's functions, especially the thyroid. I discovered a product being developed by Dr. Group. You now know it as Survival Shield, true nascent iodine that your body can really absorb. Then, about a year ago, he said, listen, if you think this is powerful, I'm going to come out with rare earth, deep earth crystals. And the results that I personally have had have been life-changing. Nobody else has got iodine based on these pure crystals, ladies and gentlemen. This is innovating, and the best part is it helps fund Infowars.com, the radio show, the TV show, the whole media operation promoting true libertarian ideas. For a limited time, experience the ancient power of Survival Shield X2. Take advantage of this unprecedented 30% off Super Detox special at InfoWarsLife.com.
You want answers? Well, so does he. Live from the Infowars.com studios, it's Alex Jones.
My prime directive is to empower humanity and create a better world for my children, for humans to explore the cosmos and transform like the butterflies that God made us to be. The globalists, on the other hand, think humanity's ugly and dead and want to remove us. They believe they're going to merge the technotronic era and the machines. Don't believe me. Bill Joy, Ray Kurzweil, all the top globalists. This is the public plan. I talked about that 18 years ago. People thought I was nuts. Now it's so mainline. They go, yeah, tell us something we don't know. Well, I know the rest of the story, boys and girls. And I'm not here saying I'm smarter than you. I'm saying you've been taught to be experts on baseball scores and cosmetics and how to act cool. And if you just spend a little of that time learning how the world works, you too can be Renaissance men and women. Paul Joseph Watson, final segment with you. Then investigative journalist John Rappaport joins us with the rest of the story. You dropped a bombshell on me. You teach me stuff all the time, Paul Watson, one of the major editors of Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. I knew the Western Journalism Center was able to get through FOIA requests and other activities. That's Joseph Farah, WorldNet Daily, for those that don't know. The proto-internet trailblazer, major newspaper editor that was one of the first to be on the internet, along with Matt Drudge of DrudgeReport.com. Back in the early 90s, the Clintons, it came out at their big presidential library earlier this year. We broke it here with Joseph Farah when it first came out. He shared the scoop with us. I was part of the next wave that came right after them in 95, 96. They were part of that first wave. I was part of the beginning of the second wave, just so you historically understand that you're just as important now. If you're waking up, you're like the fourth or fifth wave of this, and the waves come closer together if you study real media theory here on this broadcast that we break down. If you look at it, Clinton was ordering all the different media agencies in internal secret memos, state-run media, NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN. Anyone that questioned government, anyone that questioned the system was to be called a conspiracy theorist or a racist. So if you said, hey, Hillary shouldn't be getting cattle futures secretly as a payoff, you're a racist. Or Vince Foster didn't have any blood at the scene, even though it was in the police report, you're a conspiracy theorist. Questioning known liars is heresy, is taboo, equivalent to putting a crucifix in a goblet of urine like the federal government paid to have done. Remember that? So it's blasphemy against the state that's God. The New World Order is the state is God. So in closing, Paul, you dropped a bombshell on a declassification. I looked it up during the break, and lo and behold, something I didn't know. The more you learn, the more you know how dumb you are. That's why I feel sorry for the general public, thinks they know it all, and they don't even know the three branches of government, much less the periodic table or what quantum mechanics is or what positronic or psychotronic warfare is. But, Paul, I'm ranting here today. In closing, the 6-7 minutes we've got left, drop the bombshell, the declassification that the CIA created the term conspiracy theorist and tinfoil hat. I didn't know that. In the 60s, and that's the go-to thing you say When you go, you know, gee, that vaccine made my kid have convulsions. You're a conspiracy theorist. Gee, my hamburger's cold. You're a conspiracy theorist. Gee, the border's wide open. You're a conspiracy theorist. Gee, Obama's a liar. Gee, my health care went up in cost. You're a conspiracy theorist. Gee, taking guns makes crime rate go up. You're a conspiracy theorist. That's their response to intellectual, informed people. Paul Watson, drop that bombshell on people.
Yeah, this is CIA document 1035-960 concerning criticism of the Warren report. This was written in 1967, released, I think, a couple of decades later, declassified. Basically, they point out that they need to denounce any dissent, any criticism, any questioning of the Warren Commission report by linking it to this term, quote, conspiracy theories or conspiracy talk, which they will then attribute to be quote, deliberately generated by communist propagandists.
And again, they even tried to call Jim Garrison, Marine Corps war hero of World War II, who exposed all this as the district attorney. They tried to call him a commie, and they used that term against him. I'd separately seen that they used it against him. I didn't know there was a document, Paul.
Yeah, and then they reel off these narratives that are to be created, these talking points, which are still used basically every day by the mainstream media.
They claim I'm a Soviet agent.
Exactly. Conspiracy on the large scale often suggested would be impossible to conceal in the United States. We hear that over and over again, don't we? Despite the fact that some of the biggest secret projects in history, like the Manhattan Project, were, you know, groups of people, large groups of people conspiring to keep something secret. So they establish all these talking points, which are still used by the mainstream media today. And I thought of it today because earlier in the week, I'd made this video about the Daily Beast. They basically came out with an article attempting to demonize Rand Paul, which kind of failed for them in 2010 when he became a senator. You know, the Aqua Buddha scandal, the devastating scandal, was the best they could dig up on him. But they're doing it already.
They had Democrats dress up like hayseeds and say racist stuff against Hispanics and blacks, and they got caught because we did the Google photo search. So it's important for the public when they run these secret operations to go out and do your own HUMAT. You're just as good as the CIA and to counter it.
Exactly. Obviously, they're thinking Rand's going to run in 2016, so they put out an article, guilt by association, attempting to link him with you because he's been on your network. The problem is, in the very second sentence, they committed an outright fabrication by saying Alex Jones is a, quote, moon landing denier, despite the fact that numerous times you've said, yes, you think the moon landing did happen.
I've had Buzz Aldrin on, a bunch of other moon landers. I've had top people inside NASA that were personal friends of mine that said, no, we went to the moon. I've talked to the former head of the Star Wars program. I'm on record. We went to the moon. They just hid some of the stuff that took us there.
But then I pointed this out, and this Olivia Nuzzi, this Daily Beast writer, wrote a second article basically trying to justify it by saying, oh, you may have questioned some aspects of the photograph, so that makes you a moon landing denier. Completely ridiculous. She then compared you to a Holocaust denier. So she actually doubled down on the demonization after she was.
And for those that don't know, NASA couldn't get film back to the Van Allen radiation belt. And so they dolled up some photos with primitive, what you call Photoshop today, and they messed up putting some of the camera, hash marks behind things. And that's on record, and that's where it all started, because they put out sloppy PR stuff to promote the mission, which anybody does. I mean, everybody takes photos and alters them to make them look better. They took all the radiation spots off the film. Go ahead, Paul, exactly. I'm sorry.
But she said you were a moon landing denier, which obviously directly suggests you say that it never happened. And she doubled down on it, even though she got caught. I think that then prompted Olbermann to come out and attack us the day after. He got completely destroyed on Twitter as well. So there seems to be this consensus that's going out, attack Rand Paul, link him with Alex Jones, but the hit piece fell flat on its face, basically, because it was a complete fabrication, and I pointed it out.
Well, there's also an orgy of attacking Drudge right now.
Exactly. That's what Chris Hayes, MSNBC, did. It's the axis of Drudge, Alex Jones, and Rand Paul. That's who they're going after in the run-up to 2016, so we're going to see more of it.
Well, notice Rand Paul says the border's open on purpose because the Border Patrol says that. We have video of it. It's on record. He dares say that the sun is up at high noon. He dares say 2 + 2 = 4, and that's why they hate him.
Exactly. So they're going to call him a conspiracy theorist. They're going to call him a racist. again, it's the axis of Drudge, InfoWars, and Rand Paul. This is the narrative